We now return to our exclusive interview with a former Power Ranger. Landon claims to have defended Angel Grove for years as the mighty Morphin Orange Power Ranger. Now, your life as a Power Ranger has been pretty intense. How did this all start?
What can I say, man? I mean, the 90s, they were a really weird time. I mean, one minute I was working as a busboy at my buddy Ernie's juice bar. And the next thing I know, me and a bunch of my classmates are getting lectured by a giant blue tube about space sorcerers or some crap.
What was life like for you after that day? Did you enjoy being a ranger? The action? The secrecy?
What are you, nuts? I mean, every week we were being assaulted by a never-ending horde of freakazoids and weirdos. I mean, I've seen a fish that could swim through land. I watched a pig monster try to make it with other pigs. At one point, the new guy in school just almost murdered us and then joined our team like nothing ever happened. I mean, Kimberly almost crashed a plane. I bet they didn't tell you about that one. I mean, frankly, I'm even surprised you were able to keep it a secret. I mean, this thing was horribly run, dude. It was absolutely terrible.
But the powers, the Zords.
But yeah, let me tell you something about the Zords. I didn't even get one. I mean, Alpha kept telling me that my Therazinosaurus parts were on back order, but then the new guy got multiple Zords after he showed up. I mean, eventually, I just stopped showing up to fights. No one ever even called me. Heck, I didn't even know we defeated Lord Zed until about 2012.
Which begs the question, what are you up to these days?
Hey, you know what? I'm working on something. I'm writing my memoirs. You know, I'm even thinking about running for public office. I mean, I got some pretty great ideas about morphing grid regulations the EPA should be looking into. I mean, somebody's got to do something about all these teenagers getting interdimensional superpowers.
Power Rangers! I'll admit that as a kid, I wasn't a huge fan of the series. Probably because during my prime fandom developing years, Power Rangers wasn't on any channel that I had regular access to.
Don't miss the all-new Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Starting Monday here on Fox.
Morphin. Totally cool.
Yeah.
Alright.
That said, as an adult, I've developed a kind of fascination with the series. I mean, it's got bright colors and explosions and giant robots and usually dinosaurs. I mean, it's basically everything I love. Plus, the origins of Power Rangers as a show is really fascinating. For those unaware, Power Rangers was created by Haim Saban, an Egyptian-born, Israeli-raised American TV producer, who created Power Rangers by adapting a Japanese icon, Super Sentai, by essentially cutting it in half and splicing it together with a brand new show. It's kind of wild it ever even got made, let alone became a phenomenon of children's television. The series has been going on for over 3 decades now, meaning that there are tons of people who were watching Power Rangers as a kid and are now showing the series to their own children. Heck, after 32 years, it's technically possible that someone could be showing their grandkids Power Ranger episodes they watched growing up. But it's not enough to merely watch Power Rangers. I need to get myself into it. I need to be a Power Ranger. I need to see what it's like to be a Power Ranger. And that means there's only one real option for me. Video games.
My life is like a video game, trying hard to beat the stage.
Today, we're exploring the more phenomenal world of Power Ranger video games. Before we begin though, why don't you link yourself to the morphing grid that is this channel and subscribe? Because that was the worst joke it possibly could have made. Likes and comments and shares are also welcome. Now, let's get into it. It seemed logical to me to start with the first Power Rangers game ever made. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System.
This is Zordon calling the Power Rangers. Beware! Rita Repulsa and her evil henchmen are out to destroy all of you in the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Super NES.
This game was Power Rangers for me as a kid. Like I said, I didn't really watch the show, but I had a Super Nintendo and this game for some reason. Published by Bandai, of all people, one half of the company that would go on to make Dark Souls. This game was released in 1994, which is 1 year into the original run of the Mighty Morphin era of Power Rangers. That means they actually had a lot of content to work with by the time they got to this game. I mean, they had stuff like the amazing Green with Evil storyline already adapted. I mean, let's go ahead and see what they went with in the game. Yeah! I don't know if the SNES sound chip rendition of the original theme song is good enough to flag the copyright censors on YouTube, but this title screen instantly sucks you in. Is it any wonder later seasons of the show would shamelessly rip off the original theme song? Even running on the 16 bits of the Super Nintendo, it can instantly pump up the audience. Once you hit start, you'll see the original team looking over the city as the sky turns red and Rita Repulsa projects her face in the sky. I also love the poses of everyone in this shot. Jason and Kimberly have stereotypical anime hero and girl stances. Zack looks like he's ready to strut his stuff. Billy looks like he just knocked over his mom's favorite vase and doesn't know what to do about it. And Trini just instantly takes a Chun-Li fighting stance. From here, we're thrown into a character select, which is again kind of funny with the poses. I mean, I know Zack is a dancer, but the devs seem to make him incapable of not busting a move. Also, they spelled his name wrong. Jason is making the weirdest combat stance I've ever seen, and Billy's posture is fine. I just think that he looks weirdly like Cyclops from the X-Men, just wearing overalls. You know, I can't help but feel like someone is missing from this lineup. Tommy Oliver. Once you pick a character, you'll be thrown into the first level and be immediately attacked by putty patrollers. Honestly, this game plays pretty well. It's a beat 'em up style game, which is a genre that lends itself well to the Power Rangers brand. Most of the levels will have you bashing your way through enemies with some light platforming in later levels. The controls are snappy and responsive. Each character attacks at this quick, energetic pace, which feels really nice. In addition to your standard punches and basic combos, you can also do jump and crouching attacks, and do this really neat grab and throw maneuver. If you're worried about which character you picked, don't be, because honestly there's not a lot of difference between them, as most of the base form Rangers have very similar reaches with their attacks, and they all do the same amount of damage and have the same health. That said, they did give them some differences in animation during combos, which is a really good touch. Zack does his dance moves, Trini has her Tai Chi. Favorite is Billy, who will duck behind his hand as he punches and ends his combo with this hilariously pathetic looking flurry of blows. I wonder what's waiting for me here. Surely these two kindly newspaper-reading trench-coated gentlemen will no doubt need me to keep them safe from all of Rita's henchmen. Oh no! Who could have predicted this? Note that I did say there wasn't much difference between characters in their base form. At the end of the first part of each stage, the enemy boss will appear, and the Rangers will fire up their morpher and transform. You'll get a really big health boost from this. As a sidebar, the game does this really neat thing with your health bar, where it will actually go above your max by shifting the color of the bar, so feel free to pick up every healing item, you're not going to waste it. Hey, they even kept that thing with Trini where the original Sentai Yellow Ranger was a guy. That's nice to see reflected in the sprite. The Ranger's attack strength will go way up after they transform, and their attack will be replaced with whatever their weapon is. Trini gets her dagger, Zack his axe. Kimberly has her bow, but she wields it like a glorified club because this is a beat 'em up game. You get the picture. Also, hold on, wait a minute. Let me look at those sprites again. They just used the same Ranger sprite 5 times. Possible laziness in sprite work aside, there still isn't much difference between Rangers in this form, with one big exception, that being the reach. Trini's daggers are pretty piddly, but Billy's lance and Kimberly's bow allow their attacks to take up huge areas of screen real estate. Of the two, Billy's might be a touch better, because his combo ends on this spin move that can catch enemies a bit better than Kimberly. One thing this game kinda sucks at though is enemy variety. There's really only one kind of enemy, being putty patrollers. They do try and mix it up by giving them different weapons, and the different colors generally mean attack patterns are different, but they honestly all kind of blend together a bit. There are also a few robot enemies, but most of these are programmed more like environmental hazards than true enemy troops. When you get to the end of the stage, you'll have a boss battle to engage in. While fun, I do have some more complaints here. The boss's specific forms of attack will differ, but each boss has the same basic pattern. They'll teleport away for a time before coming in and letting out an attack. Each battle is essentially just surviving as long as you can until they show themselves and you can smack them. I didn't really have context as a kid, but as an adult, one thing I can really appreciate is that each boss in the game is a real monster from the show. I also picked some real winners. A couple make sense, like the first boss. It's Bones. He was the first of Rita's monsters the Rangers ever fought. Then there are ones that just seem like they were pulled out of a hat, like Genie, Dark Warrior, or Gnarly Gnome. You know, Gnarly Gnome. The guy they defeated in the show with the power of Kimberly has a deaf friend. That Gnarly Gnome. You know, you could just give me someone I recognize, you know? I mean, you could give me Goldar, or Babu, or one of the monsters that Bryan Cranston played. I mean, you could give me Snizzard, you know, just anyone that I recognize.
Now you shall taste my firepower!
One thing that kind of surprised me coming back to this game after all this time is how short it really is. There's only 5 levels. I beat the whole game in a couple of hours, and I bet someone who really knows what they're doing could beat it in minutes. Okay, I did leave out one thing from this game that's really cool. The Megazord! After you beat the 5th boss, Dark Warrior, in what was probably the easiest boss fight I had in this game, you'll have 2 more boss fights to engage with, this time inside the Megazord. The first, against Mutitus, takes place in the harbor, like a true kaiju battle. The second will take you to Rita's moon base, where you'll fight against Cyclopsis. Oh, there's Goldar, he's piloting the thing. These fights are great, because while they are quite difficult, especially the Cyclopsis one, you never feel powerless. The Megazord moves and controls like it has a ton of strength behind it, and also keep building up a power meter for you to do various special moves. It definitely feels like you could absolutely devastate the enemy if you master the controls. When you beat Cyclopsis after he busts out secondary weaponry, which is actually identical to what he did in the show, the credits will roll and the day will be saved. The team will be cruising down the highway in a sick convertible that doesn't look like it can actually fit them all. They'll arrive at Ernie's Juice Bar, where Zack will once again bust a move. Hey, there's even Bulk, Skull, and even Ernie himself. Ain't that nice? Okay, that game was pretty fun, but it was also kind of basic. I mean, Power Rangers was practically designed to be made into a beat 'em up. I mean, what else does the franchise really have to offer? Power Rangers Zeo Battle Racer! Because when I think of Power Rangers Zeo, that's what I'm most interested in, racing the vehicles. Not the combat or the new suits with those weirdly molded lips. The vehicles! Once again, this game does kill it with the title screen. It turns out that even on 30-plus-year-old sound chips, banger theme songs are still bangers. Zeo Battle Racers is, as you might guess from the title, a racing game featuring the cast of Power Rangers Zeo. Look at that, we finally got the GOAT! You can finally play as the legendary ranger Tommy Oliver, just as Zeo Red, everyone's favorite incarnation of Tommy. Hey, at least it's not Turbo. Actually, I do find it kind of weird that they went with Zeo for a racing game. This game did come out before Turbo existed, but there's still a small sense of irony here with the fact that if they had waited 1 year, they would have had the perfect Power Rangers series for a racing game. In terms of racers, we have the already mentioned Tommy Oliver as Zeo Ranger 5. You've also got the Green Ranger Adam, the Blue Ranger Rocky, the Yellow Ranger Tanya, and the Pink Ranger Cap. They even have Jason as the Gold Ranger. They even tried to make each Ranger unique, and they gave them their own helmets this time, so maybe we have a slight upgrade in art direction. They round out the roster with King Mondo, who was the main antagonist of Zeo, so I guess that makes a bit of sense, and a Cog, because presumably they wanted one more non-Ranger character, and a basic foot soldier was all they could come up with. Zeo is one of the few series that I've only ever seen a few episodes of, so I actually wanted to go back and watch a few more to see if any of these vehicles feature as part of the show, and I found nothing. Only the Red Ranger's bike appears in the show. The other Rangers do have bikes in the show, but presumably they wanted to make them feel a bit different, so they gave them different vehicles in the game. As it's a Super Nintendo racing game, it does play a lot like Mario Kart. As in, sometimes I think the maps were straight up lifted from Mario Kart. The Mode 7 graphics are pretty appealing, but man, is this game hard! I don't know if I'm just terrible at racing games, but after the first few rounds, I kept losing so badly I was getting lapped by all the other racers. In lieu of items, the racers have a built-in blaster that can be used up to 5 times a race. It kind of locks onto the person in front of you like a red shell, but if they're too far in front or even take a curve sharp enough, they can avoid it. Honestly, this game feels like it would be super fun to enjoy with a buddy, as there definitely seems to be a high skill ceiling, and that would really reward competitiveness, but playing on your own does get boring pretty quickly. Like Mario Kart, they even have a few battle games, but I'll be honest, they're kind of unremarkable. There's one that involves running over a bunch of lights on the ground, which would be a really interesting territory capture game, but you can't actually take points away from your opponent, only gain them. Another plays a lot like bumper cars as you try and knock your opponent off the stage, which is hilarious to try and capture footage of when playing on your own. And the third stage is a simple free-for-all blaster game where you have infinite shots and a limited amount of life. Like with the racing mode, these modes would be really fun if you're playing with someone else, which is probably why you physically can't play them without a player too. While a racing game may seem like an odd thing to do with the Power Rangers franchise, I promise you, I've saved the best for last. May I present to you Power Rangers Dino Thunder for the PlayStation 2. Dino Thunder is probably my favorite season of Power Rangers. It brought back the legendary Ranger Tommy Oliver, not just as a mentor or a guest star, but as a full-fledged Ranger. Had some of the best suits and morphing sequences in the whole series. It even had an awesome evil 5th Ranger. Seeing this game on the shelf of my local game store is what made me want to make this video. So, I am just pleased as punch to show you this game, because I guarantee you won't guess what sort of game this is. Hey, there we go, baby, it's the GOAT! The game starts off with Dr. Oliver, already suited up as the Dino Thunder Black Ranger, and he gets a call from the team who are supposed to be in the field piloting the Megazord.
Dr. O, we've come under attack! Kira and Ethan are gone!
Apparently Mesogog, the dino-faced antagonist of Dino Thunder, has ambushed the team and the Megazord is breaking apart, causing both the Rangers and the Zords to be captured.
I think Mesogog's trying to capture all of the Zords.
Dr. O, we're low on power. This may be our last transmission.
Tommy is able to pull Connor, the Red Ranger, to safety, but it's up to us to save the other Rangers and the Zords. Now that alone is a pretty good setup for a Power Rangers game. However, there are 3 quick things I'd like to bring to your attention before we jump in any further. First, I normally don't complain about graphical quality while reviewing an old game, but even I have my limits. This game looks terrible, even for a PS2 game. Second, while our previous 2 games had banging midis of their respective theme songs on the title screen, all we get in Power Rangers Dino Thunder is some pretty boring generic background noise. Which sucks because the Dino Thunder theme is amazing! Third, these voice actors are not the actual actors from the show. That alone isn't terribly surprising, as this game clearly didn't have much of a budget. The thing I want to know though is, who's voicing Tommy? There are 5 characters with voice lines in this game, and only 3 actors are mentioned in the credits. The 3 main rangers are accounted for, but Tommy and, spoiler alert, Zeltrax have no known voice actor. And Tommy is in your ear constantly throughout this game telling you what to do. Now that I've gotten that out of the way, have you locked in your guesses as to what type of game Power Rangers Dino Thunder for PS2 really is? Did you guess a vehicle-based combat game starring the Zords as the only playable characters? Because that's what this game is. You start the game as the Red Ranger Connor, piloting the Red Tyrannosaur. By completing a series of challenges and missions, you can save the other Rangers and get access to their Zords, that you can then freely switch between. Sounds cool, right? It would be, except for the fact that this game sucks. Your movement, despite what Zord you're using, feels horrible. Ideally, a Zord should feel like piloting an extra powerful tank, but the Zords in this game feel like piloting a cheap riding lawnmower on ice while trying to aim a Nerf gun. You slide around, rarely do you feel like you have solid traction, and you only have the roughest idea of how to actually aim at anything. The best controlled Zord is probably the yellow Therazord, and even that still requires you to button mash the X button to gain height. The missions aren't particularly inspired either. Most of them will have you defeating enemies or destroying some object, usually with a time limit. You can find these ranger symbols to do strong power attacks, but that really doesn't break up the gameplay that much, other than then requiring you to manage another resource, since certain stuff that you have to blow up will only be affected by power attacks. Later levels usually up the ante by only adding in more enemies or giving you less time to get things done. It's not real difficulty, it's often just tedium and annoyance. Yes, I can blow up the enemy devices, even if I have to try multiple times because of the relentless hail of enemy attacks. Attacks that I can't properly see, or dodge, or even counterattack, because there's not an actual lock-on button. You just have to kind of generally point your Zord in the direction of what you want to hit, and hope this little arrow decides it wants to cooperate with you. The early stage of the game also have you dealing with the sound of whoever the mysteriously unnamed voice actor that gives Dr. O life in this game, reprimanding you constantly as your attacks and movements will go wild and you'll end up breaking things like cars and buildings.
Watch it! There may be people inside. Try not to be so careless.
Listen! I'm in a 20-foot T-Rex robot! At least let me enjoy the simple thrill of exploding things! One credit I will give this game is that they didn't just stick with the 3 main Zords as playable characters. While the Black Brachiozord has been relegated to Escort Mission Terror, and there's no sign of the White Ranger and his White Dragozord, Power Rangers Dino Thunder featured a lot of bonus Zords that the team could use in a combination with their Megazord. And all of those are playable in this game. You've got the Parazord, the Dimetrozord, and even the Cephalozord. They all have their own unique eccentricities, like how the Cephalozord has the most attack power and is the only one with a distance shot for its power attack. And the blue Tricerazord can't shoot energy blasts, but it can reflect attacks by timing its melee attack. It's not much, but I can give them credit for at least trying something interesting. Eventually, you'll find yourself in a boss battle with Zeltrax. He was the right-hand man of Dino Thunder's main villain, Mesagog. So, it's time to summon the Megazord, and it's just as bad as the rest of the Zords. It's arguably worse. Maybe because you finally have a humanoid-shaped character, but the horrible controls really stand out in this boss fight. The weird slidiness, the horrible aim, and all of this other nonsense make maneuvering just atrocious. I am in a Megazord. I should feel absolutely invincible to all but the most dangerous and powerful of enemies. In PS2 Dino Thunder, controlling the Megazord feels like what it must have felt like for the actual guys in those rubber suits on the show. It feels fake, it feels silly, and it feels weak. It does not feel powerful and heroic and awesome. Regardless, the fight is pretty simple. You just have to shoot him while he's charging up his attack, then get in close and hit him with one of your power moves. It's standard boss fight stuff. Hit him 3 times and he'll go down. Once you beat him, there will be a few more stages full of missions to clear before you'll end up in the heart of an active volcano for the final boss fight against Celtrax. Again. Yeah, it turns out Mesogod couldn't even be bothered to show up to this train wreck. But see, the fight is different now because this time I have the Dimetrozord attached to my arm. Yay! I'm not kidding around when I say this boss fight might be one of the worst fights I've experienced in any game. Not only does it have the same problems as the first Celtrax fight, but this time there are hordes of additional enemies flinging attacks all throughout the stage, and the floor is quite literally made of lava. Again, I'm in a Megazord. Lava should be meaningless to me. Instead, I have to do what is essentially the exact same fight, but this time with the worst platforming of all time, as I tiptoe around active lava. To make it even worse, the mission right before this will eat up most of your power attacks. And because you only have a maximum storage of 9, and this Celtrax fight needs 5 instead of 3 hits, you'll run out. I had actual rounds where I intentionally ignored the fight and just focused on farming power attacks, since your storage will carry over when you die. Still, I beat Celtrax, I escaped the volcano before it could explode, and Dr. O gives me a speech about heroism. It's time for the credits to roll. Now, that would be about it for PS2 Dino Thunder, but I do have one more thing to mention. There are these things called power games, which is kind of a free play mode for each of the playable game areas, with a few additional challenges for each sword. It really would be only a footnote if it weren't for the fact that in the main game, each of these playable areas has a number of hidden morphers as collectibles. If you collect them all in a game area, you'll get a little message. Wait a minute, I unlocked the Red Hawk Sword? That's not a Zord from Dino Thunder. That's a Zord from Power Rangers Ninja Storm. So apparently as a bonus, for reasons I can only begin to fathom, the developers added in a fully playable set of Zords from Power Rangers Ninja Storm. They all play functionally identical to the same series of Zords we've already been using, but with less health for some reason, and there's no Megazord combo this time. Honestly, it's kind of crazy to even be playing as the Ninja Storm Zords. It might be because it's actually shaped like a real vehicle and not a weird robot animal, but the Crimson Insectazord actually feels really fun to play. It's super fast, and with the slippery controls, it actually kind of feels like you're drifting around instead of completely losing control. And apparently there's some way to even unlock the Zords from Power Rangers Wild Force, but that would likely require me to hunt down more collectibles and beat the levels with some level of skill, and I quite simply do not have the time or energy to put up with any more of this game. PS2 Dino Thunder is a terrible game, but not without its surprisingly enjoyable moments and weirdly cool amount of extra content. That's all the time we have for today. Did I inadvertently trash one of your favorite childhood games? Does anyone remember any of these games with actual fondness? I mean, I still really like the SNES Beat Em Up, if I'm being honest. If there are more Power Rangers games you think I should look to in the future, maybe I can make a part 2 to this video. As always, liking, subscribing, and commenting, and sharing are always appreciated, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.